Hi, it's Karen Bobian again. In the first tutorial, we talked about basic data access, how to access the T3 Barley website, and how to access your WMBT data from that website. In the second tutorial, we're going to be getting a tiny bit more in depth and learn about how to tailor that data for you if you have specific needs from the WMBT data. So just to start where we left off, we're going to go back to the selection wizard and we're going to select our experiment WMBT, our year 2015, all of the trials again, the grain yield, and all of the lines. So we're starting where we left off at the end of tutorial 1. We'll go to Analyze Traits and Trials Statistics and look at the Traits and Trials table again. And what we can see is that there's a really big difference in numbers. Just to give an idea, so here's Aberdeen. Aberdeen is in Idaho. Their trial means are 10,106 kilograms per hectare. Blacksburg and Warsaw are both in Virginia. Their trial means are 3,753.8 and 3,275.4. The next few are also from the eastern United States. We've got Worcester in Ohio, 5,296.4 kilograms per hectare. Ithaca, New York, 4,725.3 kilograms per hectare. Landisville is in Pennsylvania, 4,848. So they're just, and then if we go across and look for another location in the west, here we've got Pullman and Rupert. Rupert, Idaho is 8,556.3. Corvallis in Oregon is 8,492. I've looked at this data a lot, and in general there's a really big difference between the locations on the East Coast versus those on the West Coast. So what we're going to do is look at just the locations on the West Coast and see how those locations look. So if we wanted to select just a few locations out of this list, what we can do instead of going back to the selection wizard is go to our current selections here on the side and select phenotype trials directly. And that'll show us our list of currently selected trials. And what we can do here is select trials to deselect. So we're going to deselect St. Paul, Minnesota, Blacksburg and Warsaw, Virginia, Worcester, Ohio, Ithaca, New York, Landisville, Pennsylvania, Clarksville, Maryland, Plains, Georgia. We're going to leave in Pullman, Washington. Going to leave in Rupert, Idaho. We're going to deselect Meade, Nebraska. Deselect Laurel Springs, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, Alma, Wisconsin. We're going to leave in Corvallis, Oregon. Deselect River Falls, Wisconsin, Alburg, Vermont, and South Deerfield, Massachusetts. This is also just giving you an idea of where the trials are. And then we're going to deselect those highlighted trials. We're left with 4. So now here you can see that reflected on the side, we have phenotype trials 4. We can go back to our Analyze, Traits and Trials Statistics, and our Traits and Trials table. And you can see that the numbers are much higher than they were before. And what this will allow someone to do that is just interested in the West Coast region and how lines will perform in that West Coast region is to just look at a line and its performance there. We can also go back to Analyze traits and trials statistics, and the traits and trials box plot or the histogram, and look at those box plots without all of the other box plots in the way and compare them with each other. Now, another thing that you might be interested in is, let's say you only want to see 6-row or you only want to see 2-row barley at one of these locations or at these 4 locations. So you can go back up to this current selections, and this time let's say we want to see what's going on with the lines. We can choose lines directly. And here we have our 28 currently selected lines. Now, right now we can't see a lot what's going on with the lines, but we can click Show Line Information. And what that will do, it gives us the name of all the lines. Some of them have a synonym from when the barley cap was happening. You'll see a couple of them were involved or were part of the Oregon set in the barley cap. A couple of them were, it looks like they were in the Virginia Tech set in the barley cap. So that means that there's a lot more data associated with those lines than just here in the WMBT. There's also a breeding program for each of the lines. If you want to look up what the breeding program abbreviation is, once again you can go to About T3 and then go down to Contributing Data Programs, and that will give that will tell you what these little codes mean for what the breeding program is. Some of them is really easy to figure out, like OSU is Oregon State, but some of them you're going to want to look up and if you're really interested. So another thing you can see here, if you need to remind yourself, there is a column for row type. So it would be nice if there was just a way to click on the other sheet and say I only want to look at 6-row or 2-row. But right now what we'd have to do, if you want to remind yourself, you can write down which one is 2 and 6-row. We can go back to the sheet before and then deselect the ones you're not interested in. So we're going to go back to this selection, our 28 lines, and then we're going to deselect or select the ones we want to deselect. It sounds funny, but that is what it is. So the ones that are 6 rows are 1069-1 and all of these 6 W's, Charles, Hirondella, McGregor, and all of the MW's, Strider, and Thoroughbred. We're going to deselect these highlighted lines. You can see it has currently selected lines of 14. We're going to show me that line information, and then that number of 14 is reflected up here in the line number. So now we have 14 lines selected. They're all 2-row type, and we have 4 phenotype trials selected. So let's view that information in a traits and trials table. And theoretically, what we should be seeing here is a traits and trials table that only includes our 4 phenotype trials and our 14 lines. But we're actually seeing all 28 lines. So I'm showing you something that should work and didn't, and hopefully soon after I let T3 know that, we'll figure out why. But I'm just trying to give you some idea of some of the things that you can do to make this work for you in your breeding program and in your barley program, however you need to make the data work for you. We hope that using T3 as your data download source is going to make it work better for you than the way that just sending out mass tables. We think that this is actually going to be an improvement, And if you need anything more, or if you think that there's a way to make it even better, just let us know and let T3 know. And we hope that everyone will be using it all the time. Thank you.